Day 3 of the author. First, we talked about the fact that God's holy, and then we talked about how God is our creator, and today we're going to talk about trusting him and how he only wants good for your life. Some of you may struggle to believe that at times, or maybe just in general. Maybe you're in the midst of a situation right now that makes it hard to believe that. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a testimony of mine. My husband and I were at a local food truck festival, and I believe that I was there with my sister and her husband and some friends, and we were just walking around, and all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I saw my mom and her husband approaching us. And you know when you see someone or when you get into a situation that feels quote unquote random, your stomach does that jump and you're like, ooh, something's not probably very good right now, and that's how I felt. So they approached us, and I will never forget the tree that I was standing next to when they told us that my mom had been diagnosed with amyloidosis. Now, that is a big fancy word for a disease where a protein builds up in your body and it starts to attack itself. It was in my mom's bone marrow. Basically, she had cancer, a really rare kind of cancer, and she would be starting chemo. It was like the world stopped around me. Wait a second, I just got my black bean burger, okay, from the food truck right there, and now my mom shows up at this food truck festival and tells me she has cancer? What is happening? This isn't how today was supposed to go. So the process started. I'll never forget the first time that we went to visit my mom in the hospital, and she wasn't allowed to cross the threshold of her hospital room at that point. And when we left, she was standing in the doorway and she was waving goodbye. And I never knew if I'd see my mom again. She was there for an extended amount of time. She lost all of her hair. She couldn't walk by herself. She couldn't eat. She couldn't stay awake. She had no memory. It was crazy. And I remember one day I was taking a shift of helping take care of her in the hospital one day, and I was kneeling next to her bed and I was trying to get her to take her medicine. And she kept falling asleep every few seconds. She would fall asleep. She would fall asleep. And at first it was one of those things that seemed funny, right? Here I am trying to get my mom to take her medicine and she's dozing off mid-sentence, right? So I was laughing, and then all of a sudden the situation got really serious and I realized what was happening. And then I started to cry and cry and cry and cry. And in moments like that, it's so easy to get caught up and say, is this what you being good looks like? Is this what you being loving looks like? But you know the cool thing, God's character is not defined by circumstances. The fact that my mom couldn't stay awake, couldn't walk, didn't have any hair, it didn't change the fact that God is so good. My mom is healed now. She's completely healed. But you know what? Even if she wasn't healed, it wouldn't change the fact that God is good. Just like the fact that my granddad had a heart attack in the middle of winter and he wasn't able to be revived, he died. God is still good, and God is still love. He doesn't change in the midst of circumstances. His character never changes. He created you. He's holy. He's good. He's true. He was and he is and he always will be. I hope you hear me when I say those things. You were created. He is your creator, and he knows you better than anyone else. He isn't distant. He does hear you, and he does want the best for you. We'll see you next time.